Good evening, Fernwood. It is your reasonable and reflective friend Neil here, and it's time for us to look back upon another episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Today we are watching October 21st, 1976's episode. That's episode 144 of the series. Let's do our recap. It began with a bit of catching up between Martha and Mary, and mostly about the missing George, who Martha suspects was taken by a UFO. Then there's a visit from Loretta, who does her best to catch up with Mary, and as Mary recounts the erotically charged time she had with Tom just the night before, Loretta gets quite emotional and feels the need to vent her frustrations with her sex life with Charlie, especially as he has lost a testicle in some recent violence. Next door at the Haggers, Merle Jeters comes to make peace with Charlie to a certain extent, and it begins to fall on deaf ears as Mary walks in without seeing Merle and does her best to try to fix Charlie's medical problem and makes very clear that Charlie is having a sexual issue, all in the witness of Merle Jeters. Later on, Loretta comes home and Charlie's very clear that that was a violation of trust, and he's quite angry about it, and understandably so. And then we close with a scene at the Hartmans, starting with Heather asking Mary about her experience with mental health, and in a way that maybe makes Mary not feel so great. And then Loretta comes in and really lays it on Mary for revealing something that she had shared in confidence, and also still maybe has left Mary feeling not so great. That is our recap. Let us get started with this episode.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
Hey, I just ran into Loretta out there. Boy, she was really mad about something. Is everything okay?
Hiya, Dad. Sounds like Mom blew a fuse over at the Haggers.
Sweetheart, could I talk to Daddy alone?
Well, that about wraps it up for open and honest.
So how's my wife today, huh?
Okay.
You okay?
Today's the day.
What do you mean today's the day? Oh, honey, I love you. Do you know that? I really love you. What?
Do you think I'm crazy?
Oh, honey, what are you talking about, Mary? What are you talking about?
Well, I'm talking about the commitment by you to the hospital. I'm supposed to go back.
Oh.
I don't have to go back, do I, Tom? I don't have to. I mean, I know why you did it in the first place. I really do understand it, but I was just having a long talk with Heather, and I think she thinks I'm much better now. I mean, she thinks I should stay home now.
Honey, look. Hey, honey, she's just a child, you know? I had to do something after the Susskind show. I had to, because I couldn't help myself because of the way I was drinking. So I had to help myself first, and I have. And then I think the hospital has really helped you. I really do. I think you're fine now. But I'm not going to try to force you into anything anymore.
But Tom, things like between us, it's just absolutely terrific. I mean, it's just terrific. I mean, last night was... It's great. And I mean, I just had a talk with Heather. I just had a talk... I mean, I haven't been able to talk to her like this, like, since she could talk. I mean, I still don't think she likes me that much, but that's okay. I mean, it'll take time. And then, I had to talk with my mother earlier, and, I mean, there are problems there, but she has external pressures of her own, and I really miss my father so much. And Loretta came over, and she said that I went over there earlier because I know that they're having some problems and everything, and I thought I even came up with something for them to help their marriage for Loretta and Charlie, and she came over and said I messed everything up and that I shouldn't have been there and it was none of my business and that, I'd be better off staying out of it. And I don't know, Tom, I just don't even know how I feel about her anymore. And if I don't know, maybe if I am better off being out of it, then maybe I'm not as bitter as I think. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. All I know is that I don't want you to go back. I don't. But then I'm not the one to decide whether you should or not. I'm not. So all I can do is tell you that I love you, and I trust you, and just let you make the decision yourself, okay?
Oh, Tom, that's so wonderful that you're giving me the choice. I mean, that's the choice that's so important, that I have this choice. Thank you.
Yeah. So? So? Mary?
Well,
Pack your bag.
thank you, Tom.
Oh, let's make that definite. Oh, Williams. I'm glad you waited. There's something I want to ask you.
Mrs. Hartman has returned from her weekend pass of her own free will
Oh, wonderful.
because she understands that she needs help.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Then she actually understands that she needs us.
No, she understands that she needs help, Mr. Ackerman, not us. Now, once a patient like Mrs. Hartman recognizes that need, she's as good as cured.
Bite your tongue. Anyway, as good as doesn't mean the same as. Now, what'll it take? A month?
Mr. Ackerman, the only thing I can think of that would keep Mary Hartman here more than another week would be a deliberately induced psychosis. Now, I doubt that anyone, even you, would deliberately introduce that, even to get on the David Susskind show. So what are you pushing for? Months from now?
Look, I asked for the earliest possible date, believe me. It's not so far off.
Unless you happen to be a perfectly sane celebrity housewife who's being held prisoner for the sake of some hospital administrator's career.
That is the most bleeding heart crock of Ralph Nader blather you've dumped on me since you claimed I was getting a kickback from the bedpan company. The woman came here of her own free will, voluntarily.
Yes, for help.
Well, then help her then, damn it. Help her for as long as I need it. I mean, as long as she needs it. All you have to do is keep her happy. Happy and fed, comfortable, secure, appreciated, and voluntary. Keep her here voluntarily, but keep her.
You know, Ackerman, I almost thought that evil was an outmoded concept.
Look, we are low in finances. We are also the only facility in the county that doesn't turn our inmates into drug addicts, fry their brains silly, or chop up their frontal lobes like liver for the sake of some monkey experiment.
All it takes is an occasional human sacrifice, huh? I got you.
Oh, look who's here. Sherry, welcome back. Did you have a nice weekend? Oh, my, what have we got there? It's a cake.
Oh, there.
Did you bake it yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, Mary, you're getting well.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Oh, it's a marble swirl.
It's a marble swirl. And it's much easier than it looks.
Next time, use ground glass. It's even easier than marbles. I was only joking, Mary. I'm really very harmless.
Oh, I know you're harmless, Mr. Foster. I mean, we all are. Even you, Chester. And I know your device is just a device and not a bomb. I mean, device. Listen, why don't we all have some cake now, you know, because I already, it's cut already, because I know since we can't have knives in here and forks in here, but we can have fingers, right?
Yes, we can.
We can have, so we could, like, pick up the cake and just eat it with our fingers. Is that okay?
Oh, Mary, you know, Chester missed you.
Well, you were late.
Oh, well.
But Ronald missed you most of all. Ronald talked about you the whole weekend.
Oh, where is Ronald?
Oh, he's in shock therapy.
Oh. Oh, well, I missed him. Well, why don't I'll just put this here for him. I'm sure he'll notice it when he gets back.
Did you miss us, Mary?
Oh, for heaven's sake, Mrs. Gimble. Don't put her on the spot like that.
Put her on it. Put her on the spot.
Did my question put you on the spot? I didn't mean for it.
Oh, no. I thought about all of you all the time. Why don't we all just sit down and eat our cake? Yeah, good. It's funny. What I was going to tell you, Heather, my daughter, kept reminding me of you, Mrs. Defarge. Really. And my mother, Chester, my mother kept reminding me of you. Talked to different subjects, different serious subjects, you know, but kept reminding me of you. Yes, Gimble, you kept reminding me, I don't know why, but it's the funniest thing. You kept reminding me of my best friend's husband. And Wanda, I kept seeing you and me all weekend. Do you know what I mean? Like I kept feeling like that kind of a feeling. And I missed Ronald too. I really did, because see, my father ran away, and Ronald's missing too. So you see that I thought about everybody here a whole lot.
Oh, Mary, really, I am not insulted at all, because it sounds to me as if you were beginning to think of us almost as your second home.
Oh,
well, you know, sort of your home away from home.
My home away from home.
That's how I like to think of it. Well, listen, I didn't want to say anything in front of the others, but I heard about Gorby Doe. Oh, you must be so excited about him coming here to do a book on you.
Mary!
Well, actually, it's more a book with me.
No, but what I understand is that it's going to be about the breakdown of society seen through the eyes of America's #1 consumer housewife.
Oh. Would you buy a book about that? I don't know if I'd buy a book about that. You want some more cake?
Yeah. Wonderful.
How's this?
Fine. You good? Oh, why don't we just switch seats? Zoning commissioner likes to sit facing the door. Occupational necessity.
Oh, all right. There you go.
Well, young fella, what's on your mind?
Well,
Excuse me, is Mr. Miller here by any chance?
Just missed it.
Oh, I'll just sit here for a few seconds. I'm sure I'll be right back, because, you know, him being manager and everything. So I know all about managers, and, well, they got to stay right there on the premises and manage, because that's their job. I know that, you know, because of my Charlie, him being my manager and everything. And well, I'll tell you, if you wasn't by me day and night, I know for a fact that that song of mine, Vitamin L, would have never climbed up way to the top of the charts. So I'll just sit here and wait for him just a teensy little bit. I'm sure he'll be right back in a shake.
great.
Diet Grapette. I'll have one, please. Diet Grapette.
I think we're out of that.
Oh, darn. Okay, sim up. Oh, sheet. White stage sure looks good to me. Oh, I'll tell you, it wasn't just but a couple of months ago I was up there just singing my little guts out. Oh, I'll tell you, I've been dying to get back to it personally, but, you know, what with all these commitments I've had, mostly to the Lord, but a few commitments to my husband, Charlie, who accidentally got shot right smack dab in the leg. And it was just, you know, an accident, of course, but I've had to spend a lot of time when I would have ordinarily been entertained up on the stage with those kind of things, you know. But now, of course, that I'm freed up, you know, Well, I feel perfectly safe in assuming that Mr. Miller is going to just book me solid every evening here in the club. I'm real excited about it because, hon, I have got, as you well know, because you remember when I entertained here before, just the fabulous, most wonderful knee-slapping, toe-tapping, hoop-and-hollering country songs in the world. And I don't want to disappoint my fans, you know.
Now, you got, how much again was that in backing?
Well, it's not really what you call commercial backing. What it is just love offerings that were sent in to Channel 6 after I did that interview about what this country needs.
Yes. Your speech made quite an impression on Wanda, my wife. Oh. She's a great fan of yours, Cheetah.
Oh, well, I hope you'll thank her for me. Actually, all I was doing is just speaking my mind, though, you know.
That man has a political talent, she said. And she knows. I mean, she may be crazy in the psycho ward, but she's crazy as a fox when it comes to ward politics. Make no mistake about that.
Well, I'm sure she's a fine woman. I always say that a good man has got to have a good wife if he's going to stay good.
Well, if I was near a good man as my little lady would like me to be, well, somebody's got to buy the nerve medicine for her. Don't make a mistake about that.
Well, anyway, getting back to the point, see, what I'd like to see happen is I'd like to build these condos proper. You know, for ordinary, self-respecting people, only make them for the poor. Give them some dignity, some storm cellars, some decent plumbing so the kids would have a chance.
And the real point is that you want a tax-exempt status, is that correct?
Well, that was going to be my next mention, yeah.
Well, why mention the obvious, Cheater?
That's what I always say. What, we agreed then, or?
Well, I got to see some paper. I mean, you can't go planning a city just talking about it without a little paper.
No, what do you mean paper? I don't understand.
Well, look, I got a whole host of religious groups, corporate bigwigs, God knows what all, literally beating their way to my door, trying to get tax exemption for their property. Now, I got to make a decision. Now, how can I do that without seeing some papers?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, as far as this is concerned, you can just send me the forms and I'll fill them in because I know this project will stand on its own merit.
Look, young fella, I'll tell you what, I'll trust you.
Right?
I mean, you give me a number and I'll trust you to come through with it. Now, tell me, how many green bottles of beer do you see on the wall? 5,000? Green? You know, our application forms are all green, friend. Just like the zigzag shag down at the bank. Come on, son. Don't tell me you're so green yourself you don't get my implications.
No, I get your implication. You don't get mine.
You'll get yours, Jeter. And you know where you'll get it, too, young scum.
See, it was the Christian ways.
Loretta Haggers,
right here on this.
Is that you? What are you doing in here?
Hi, Merle.
How you doing?
I'm sorry, but I'm not supposed to be talking to you.
What?
Well, see, Merle, I promised Charlie that I wouldn't talk to you, and I'm sorry. I really am, hon, but that's the way it is.
Why not? What's the problem?
Well, I'm not supposed to be talking to you, but I'll at least explain why it is I'm not supposed to be talking to you. It's not really a problem, although in a way it's kind of Charlie's problem, so then, which makes it my problem, of course, which by that means makes it your problem a little bit too. But anyways, Charlie is very adamant about me not talking to you, you know, and it's his wishes, so I have to respect them. And I know all that I've meant to you and, you know, me giving you strength and all that stuff. But the truth is, Charlie needs my strength right now. So I have to give it all to him.
You know, if there's ever anything I can do to help out. Well.
Please don't beg me, Merle. Don't beg me, okay? I mean, I really feel embarrassed about it, you know, and everything, because I know the words sound harsh. But, Merle, this is a permanent goodbye.
Oh, Mary, that is wonderful.
I know.
Oh, no wonder you miss him.
Well.
I couldn't help but notice that you didn't mention him before. When you were telling us which ones of us remind you of your family.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was just fascinating that you never mentioned your husband. Tom?
Well, Tom, yeah. Wanda, he looked so different. I mean, he looked so different. He was so different. I mean, a tie.
Really?
A jacket. No drinking. It was like he didn't remind me of him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I didn't bring it up. You know what I mean? It was like it was not him. I mean, it was him. It was not someone else. It was him. It was him I was with,
Yeah.
It was not someone else, but it was not like him. It was more him.
Yeah.
He was more him this weekend than I have ever known him.
Yeah.
And I've known him for a long time. But I mean, it's like Tom was like more Tom than he's ever been. Oh, Wanda, he's a wonderful man. I mean, he's wonderful.
Boy, do I ever envy you. You don't know how lucky you are. You see, my husband reminds me of other people all the time. Genghis Khan, Sherman Adams, Don Corleone, Spiro Agnew.
Nurse Gimbal, your neck is gone. You look so normal.
No. Isn't it wonderful? I went to my doctor's this afternoon. Isn't it grand? I feel so free.
It's a vast improvement, Mrs. Gimbal.
Well, listen, my husband Garth is going to be so relieved. He was getting very nervous, me tromping about with that huge support.
Well, and you? Well, I bet you were nervous, too.
Well, yes. One reacts very strongly to how one's husband is feeling.
That's very interesting. We were just talking about that.
Well, everybody reacts to what Wanda's husband is feeling. I mean, he does shape our city, doesn't he?
Alas.
Mr. Rittenhouse is our zoning commissioner. My husband is in public relations, so he follows the careers of public people very, very closely. He's so thorough. It just amazes me how some people can get so immersed in their professions.
Unless he happens to be in septic tanks or city zoning.
Wanda, that is not the proper attitude to take. Now, with all the stress that Mr. Rittenhouse must be under, now he needs a wife that stands behind him.
And sticks a knife in his back.
Wanda isn't really violent.
Unfortunately.
I'm sure she admires and loves the commissioner.
He'd look cute in stripes.
Say, would you girls like to see a picture of my husband? The photomat is right across the street from my osteopath.
Oh, yeah.
Wait. Here it is. Now, it's a little dim because I was so far away.
Oh, my. Nurse Gimbal, look at your finger. Did you break your finger taking this picture?
Well, just about. We have this old style flash bulb, and when the bulb popped out, it went underneath the coffee table, and I picked it up, and it was too hot, and I pulled my hand back, and bing, right into the leg of the coffee table. It's not serious.
Bing.
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 So it takes up right on the heels of yesterday with the reaction from Loretta, the anger reaction from Loretta. I mean, she was off screen, but Tom comes in and says that Loretta was very angry and then sends Heather out of the room, or Mary sends Heather out of the room, but that ends the honest talk that they had been having. And to me, the next part is what was a really impactful moment. To me, watching Tom give some amount of agency to Mary is such a huge gesture, to allow her to choose whether to go back. And it was unread, it was sort of silent, but her decision was silent, I should say. But then Tom says, pack your bags, and Mary says, thank you. And that says something was very much read between them that I think to me, allowing someone a bit of control of their life. Sometimes you don't allow them control of their life, but with Mary, I think if we trust Mary and Tom and Dr. Williams as far as Mary's own sanity is concerned, she's basically functional and can survive in the real world to some extent. But a little bit more time resting and sorting isn't bad, and this is where Mary makes the choice to volunteer to go back to the ward. Then we cut to the office of Mr. Ackerman and Dr. Williams, who's sneaking into the files at the top. We don't know what he's read, but apparently he's reading something. And then Mr. Ackerman comes in, and there's a portrait of Mary on the desk facing Mr. Ackerman. So clearly that's something that Mr. Ackerman really, really enjoys, having Mary in the ward. And we know he wants to work his way towards celebrity. But that is a question, an ethical question. You know, should you have someone in for your own benefit? I mean, I guess we could talk about healthcare and mental health care in America at this point, which is probably no better than it was then. Sorry, y'all. Then we see Mary's reunion with the ward, and I think it's nice to have Mary have a little home away from home, as Nurse Gimble describes it. And Mary finds analogs for most of the folks who are there. The little crazy lady reminds Mary of Heather, and Nurse Gimble reminds Mary of Charlie, mostly because he's very injured. And, well, we'll talk about Nurse Gimble's injuries. And I'm not sure who Wanda reminded Mary of, but, you know, especially because Mary is now not sure how she feels about Loretta. And honestly, I don't know that that's quite justified, her feelings towards Loretta, because Loretta honestly had a legitimate complaint about Mary's behavior. It came out in a way that was quite insulting or quite hurtful, but it is a legitimate complaint. But anyway, I feel like Wanda has become Mary's new best friend in some ways. Not verbally necessarily, but they are very, very close. And I don't think that this was anything beyond coding, but there seemed to have been some strangely erotic tension between them in an earlier episode, which... So then we cut over to the Capri Lounge with what looks like a face turn for Merle Jeters as he talks to the deputy commissioner, who happens to be in marriage with Wanda. So what? But, you know, to me, I think seeing Merle be somewhat honorable about not taking the hint about bribing the deputy commissioner seemed like a face turn. And if you're not familiar with that wrestling terminology, it means when a bad guy turns into a good guy. A heel turn would be when a good guy turns into a bad guy. Hey, wrestling is a thing that I have started watching in the last couple of years. Let's put up some wrestling stuff here. But so a face turn for Merle, maybe. And then Merle and Loretta have a little bit of an exchange that says, I should not ever see you again. And then we come back to the ward with Mary becoming very, very close to Wanda. And I think in a way that she has not been close to another human being. And mind you, there were some scenes in earlier episodes that seem to imply some erotic stuff. And I'm not sure if it's going to go beyond queer coding, you know, just hinting at the sexual tension there, but there does seem to be a physical attraction between the two. If it's not necessarily an erotic attraction, you know, at least they're good with snuggling a little bit. Wanda is not fond of her husband, and so we get an expansion of our supporting cast or a projected expansion of our supporting cast. And then Nurse Gimble comes in and the neck brace is off, but a finger is broken. So we don't know what's going on with all of these injuries. It's just so much. And a hint of another character coming in, and that I think was Barth Gimble. I know that they're, like I said, I accidentally read the back of the DVD case. So there's going to be a significant character coming in that has been named, and I'm not sure which one, but anyway, it's someone who was a fairly famous actor of the time. I will not mention it so that it doesn't spoil you more, but someone's coming. And I guess this episode ends with just a question of what the heck is going on with Nurse Gimble. So everyone, that's what I've got to share with this episode. Thank you for coming back to reflect upon this with me. Thank you for reflecting down in the comments as well, because I love the conversation. Thank you again, and we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.